A starving homeless black girl finds an iPad and resolves to return it. When a white repairman seizes it, she risks everything to retrieve the owner's number. Her call reaches a white tech CEO, whose autistic daughter relies on the iPad to communicate. Grateful, he transforms the girl's life, sparking a ripple of endless kindness from one brave act. Before we dive in this story, let us know where you're watching from. We love to hear your thought. Kira, who was 12, crouched low by a giant rusty dumpster behind the Goodwill Market discount grocery store in Sunstone City. This was a forgotten corner near the old docks, smelling of fish and salt. Her palms were sweaty, her fingers trembling as she rummaged through plastic wrappers and damp papers, searching for anything, even just a scrap of food. The pungent stench hit her nose, but Kira was used to it. This was the smell of long, empty nights, and the gnawing hunger that chewed at her insides like a wild animal. For years the street had been her unforgiving classroom, teaching her to be resourceful, silent, and invisible. After her mother passed away from an illness, Kira became homeless, living in the old dock district of Sunstone City, a sprawling port city where glittering skyscrapers shimmered in the distance, but the alleyways were filled only with cold wind and the stench of decaying fish. The public welfare system, underfunded and overwhelmed, offered little help for children like her. 3 weeks ago, this very dumpster yielded half a box of expired but still dry cookies. Today she wasn't so lucky. All she found were torn diapers and flattened soda cans. Kira sighed, turning to leave, her bare feet scraping on the hot gravel under the summer sun. Every step was a fresh cut on her calloused soles. Pain was a constant companion, a dull ache that served as a reminder of her precarious existence. As she tried to slip away, something shiny caught her eye. A rectangular object lay partly hidden beneath a damp piece of cardboard. It glinted. Curious, she reached down and pulled it out. It was smooth, cold to the touch, with a black screen and a silver back. It was an iPad. Kira had never held an iPad before. It felt impossibly foreign and valuable in her small, grubby hands. A thought flashed through Kira's mind, quick as lightning. The iPad was still intact. She remembered her mother's words. "If you find something lost, you must return it, Kira. It's the right thing to do." Lying to her mother had always felt like a betrayal. Even now, years after her passing, her mother's voice was the strongest moral compass Kira had. This principle, ingrained since childhood, had become Kira's guide. She decided not to sell it. She wanted to see if it worked, if there was any information to return it to its true owner. She hugged the iPad tightly to her chest, as if it were a promise to her mom. It was a silent vow, a beacon of the person she still clung to being, despite the harshness of her life. Kira possessed an innate intelligence and a strange eagerness to learn. Before her mother passed away, Kira was always the best student in her class, especially good at math, and an incredibly fast reader. She often spent hours staring at store signs, discarded old newspapers or tattered books she found in dumpsters. Every new word learned was a small victory. Her mind, though starved, thirsted for knowledge, a quiet rebellion against the illiteracy that often accompanied her life on the streets. The next day, Kira, with determination in her heart, went to Mr. Miller's shop, a phone repairman in a small wooden booth, sandwiched between 2 yellow school buses. Mr. Miller, a middle-aged man with a gray beard and a shrewd look, raised an eyebrow when Kira handed him the device. His eyes quickly scanned, from the iPad to Kira's dirty clothes. "What'd you find, kid?" Mr. Miller asked, his voice casual but his eyes calculating. "You wouldn't know how to use this. I could sell it right now. Give it here, I'll sell it for you, split it 50-50. You could buy so many meals with that money." He reached out his hand, fingers extended like claws, ready to snatch the iPad. His words were tempting, a direct assault on the gnawing hunger she constantly fought. Her stomach rumbled, betraying her, but her resolve held firm. Kira recoiled, clutching the iPad tightly to her chest. She felt a strong emotional pull. "No, it's mine. I found it. I want to return it to its owner." The memory of her mother's kind, honest face flashed before her eyes, strengthening her conviction. Mr. Miller chuckled. "What are you gonna do with it? That guy at the flea market would pay big for this." He shrugged, but his gaze never left the iPad, a look of pure greed. Well, let's see if it even works. You don't look like someone who owns an iPad, more like someone who wanders around scavenging. Where'd you steal this from? The accusation stung, a familiar barb that reminded her of how society saw her. But she wouldn't let it deter her. I didn't steal it, Kira replied, her voice slightly shaky, but with a new firmness. She looked him straight in the eye. I found it in a dumpster. I just want to see if it works, to return it to them. Mr. Miller took the iPad, plugged it in reluctantly, then slammed it down on the table. The Apple logo lit up like magic. Kira's heart pounded in her chest. After a few minutes, the screen loaded to the lock screen. A background photo of a small white girl with curly blonde hair and a crown grinning on a playground. Below it read, "If found, please contact my father, +1 55559876543. Reward for return." Mr. Miller saw the phone number. A glimmer of greed sparked in his eyes. "A local number," he muttered. "Huh, this could be worth something." He unplugged the iPad and stuffed it into a drawer, locking it. "I'll have to keep this to verify its origin. You just go on home, I'll let you know when I have information." He waved Kira away like a fly. His dismissal felt like a physical blow, a confirmation that her trust was misplaced. Kira was stunned. She felt a distinct injustice, a knife piercing her heart. "But the number, I just need the number." Her voice was filled with resentment. "Mr. Miller sneered. Could be a scam number. Go on. Or I'll call the police." He turned his back, busy with another phone. His threat was a chilling reminder of her vulnerability, of the power he held over her. Kira stood frozen. The iPad was locked away. The door of hope that seemed to open had slammed shut in front of her. But she couldn't give up. Despair turned into determination. That phone number was her only chance to do the right thing. She clenched her fists, her nails digging deep into her palms. The choice was clear: succumb to despair or fight for what was right, for the promise she made to her mother's memory. That night, Kira returned to Mr. Miller's shop. She hid in the shadows, waiting. After he locked up and left, Kira stealthily snuck in. The back door was only ajar. Inside, everything was pitch black. Her heart hammered. She tiptoed, searching for the drawer containing the iPad, and quickly wrote down the phone number, afraid Mr. Miller might return at any moment. She tucked the piece of paper into her pocket, grabbed the iPad, and quickly slipped out. Her breath was ragged, her chest heaving, feeling intense tension. Every shadow seemed to lengthen. Every creak of the floorboards amplified her fear of being caught, but the image of the little girl on the iPad spurred her on. Kira ran straight to a deserted alley. All day long, she'd tirelessly collected recyclables to gather enough money for a phone call. She found Mrs. Santos, an older woman who often shared her meager earnings from selling trinkets at the market, and asked if she could borrow a coin for the public phone. "Go on, little one," Mrs. Santos said, pressing a quarter into Kira's palm. "Do what's right, it always comes back to you." Finally, with bleeding hands and an exhausted body, Kira reached the old public phone booth, hidden in a dark alley. Her fingers trembled as she slowly dialed the numbers she'd copied. It rang 3 times. "Hello," a calm male voice answered. Kira hesitated. "Hello, this is the father of the girl in the iPad photo." There was silence, then a cautious urgency. "Yes, this is Mr. Arthur Reed. Who is this? Where are you calling from?" Arthur Reed, a man whose life revolved around precision and control as a successful tech CEO, was instantly on alert. His daughter Lily's iPad was more than just a device, it was her lifeline. Kira took a deep breath. "My name is Kira. I found your daughter's iPad in a dumpster in Sunstone City." A gasp of relief burst from the other end of the line. "Oh my God, you found it. We've been looking for weeks. That iPad means everything to my daughter. She's only 7. Lily has innate autism and lost her mother at birth. This iPad is her only tool for communication." Arthur's voice, usually steady, cracked with raw emotion. He had been through countless sleepless nights, searching desperately, feeling the weight of his daughter's silence without her primary means of expression. "Yes, sir," Kira replied. "I found it, behind Goodwill Market. It has a black screen, a silver back, and the photo is of a little girl with curly blonde hair wearing a crown, laughing on a playground. Her name is Lily. Your phone number was on it. Arthur took a deep breath, a sigh of profound relief. That's it, that's exactly it. You didn't sell it. No sir, Kira said, her voice firm. My mother taught me to return lost property. I couldn't keep it. Her words were simple yet carried the full weight of her integrity, a principle she held on to fiercely even when it put her at risk. Arthur sounded choked up. You're a good girl. Thank you so much. Can you tell me where you are? I'll come immediately. I'll contact the police so they can verify the information and help me get there safely. Kira immediately gave him the address of the public phone booth. Kira hung up, her heart filled with hope. For the first time in a long time, a different kind of warmth spread through her, not from the sun, but from the simple act of doing right. As soon as Kira hung up, she heard hurried footsteps from the end of the alley. An old pickup truck screeched to a halt. Mr. Miller jumped out of the truck, his face a mix of malice and triumph. He'd just discovered his shop had been broken into via newly installed security cameras. His eyes locked onto Kira, and he looked down at her hand, where she still clutched the piece of paper with the phone number. You're here, you brat. Thought no one knew, huh? You stole from my store and then dared to use someone's phone to report it. He growled, pointing at Kira. There, that's her, officers. This girl just broke into my store. A patrol car had been called earlier due to the store's alarm. Flashing blue and red lights shone directly on Kira. 2 officers rushed forward, roughly handcuffing her. Extreme fear engulfed Kira. She was pushed into the back seat of the police car, sirens wailing through the night. Kira was taken to the local police station, locked in a cold, musty cell. The rough touch of the handcuffs, the cold steel, was a stark reminder of her powerlessness, a painful echo of all the times she felt unjustly accused or ignored. Inside the interrogation room, a stern-faced detective with tired eyes leaned across the table. All right, kid, let's hear it. Mr. Miller says you broke into his shop and stole this iPad. You part of some crew working the docks? Kira shook her head, her voice barely a whisper. No sir, I found it. I just wanted to return it. I swear. She explained everything, her story detailed and consistent, despite her trembling voice. The detective's initial suspicion began to waver. In the cell, time passed slowly. Night turned into dawn, then dawn slowly turned into noon. The cold seeped into her bones, hunger gnawed again, but the fear was even greater. She huddled, hugging herself tightly, every sound outside startling her. She wondered if Arthur would believe her, if he would come. Each passing minute was a heavy weight, fueling her anxieties. The trust she had placed in a stranger felt incredibly fragile now. Finally, the click of the lock sounded. The door opened. Arthur Reed, with a face showing worry, anger, and the deep fatigue of a sleepless night, stepped in with a local lawyer. He looked at Kira with a look of deep understanding and relief. Arthur, usually meticulous and in control, had spent the night in a frantic, determined search, fueled by the desperate hope of reuniting Lily with her iPad, and the surprising integrity of the young girl who called him. He recognized a familiar strength in Kira, a quiet tenacity that reminded him of his late wife, who had faced her own battles with unwavering resolve. Kira, are you okay? Arthur quickly asked. I contacted the police right after your call to verify. They said you were arrested for breaking and entering and theft. I had to spend all night to find out, contact a lawyer, and gather evidence to bail you out. He quickly explained the situation to the duty officer, presented evidence of Kira's call to him, and emphasized that she only wanted to return lost property. He also provided documents proving he was the owner of the iPad. After some back and forth, the police finally released Kira. Kira was led out of the police station, the morning sunlight seeming brighter than ever. She was still trembling, but felt immense relief. For the first time in her life, she felt a strong hand protecting her. A sense of satisfaction spread through her body. As soon as they left the police station, Arthur didn't take Kira straight home. He led her to a quiet little coffee shop nearby. After Kira had a hot breakfast, Arthur looked at her with sincere eyes. Kira, he said, his voice firm but warm, that iPad is Lily's life. You gave my daughter the most precious thing back. I want you to have a better life, a future you deserve," Mr. Arthur continued. "I want to offer you a full scholarship through our family's charitable foundation. You'll go to school, have a safe place to stay, and we'll support you in every way. You don't have to live on the streets anymore. This isn't a reward, but an opportunity, a new beginning, if you accept." Arthur, a man of profound principles, saw in Kira not just a girl who returned an iPad, but a reflection of the profound goodness he believed still existed in the world. Kira looked into Arthur's sincere eyes. Tears began to fall. She felt a sense of awkwardness and embarrassment at receiving such a grand offer, but mixed with it was a feeling of unprecedented relief and hope. "I don't know what to say," Kira stammered. "I just wanted to return the iPad to Lily. I didn't do this for a reward." The concept of a reward for doing the right thing felt alien to her. Her actions were simply a matter of adhering to her mother's teachings. Arthur smiled. "I know, and that's what makes you special. You showed me that kindness still exists in this world. You deserve this chance, Kira." Kira clenched her palms like a promise to herself. A thought suddenly sparked, as clear as a night star. She could turn this kindness into something bigger, spread it to those who needed it. She wouldn't keep it to herself. This was her difficult choice: to accept profound help, a life she never imagined, and in turn, use it to uplift others. It was a terrifying, yet exhilarating leap of faith. "They want me to visit, they want me to go to school," Kira whispered to herself, tears welling up, hot on her cheeks. For the first time in a long time, Kira cried. Not from hunger or pain, but from something warmer and brighter than any sunlight. It was hope, the start of a new life, a future she had never dared to dream of. It took a few weeks to arrange everything. Arthur's foundation helped Kira obtain the necessary documents for her scholarship. Arthur also helped her find a small, comfortable room near the school. He'd enrolled her in Sunstone City, not too far from his home, but still ensuring privacy and independence. The foundation even bought her 2 new dresses, the first new clothes Kira had ever worn. The day she moved into her new room, a few old neighbors, who had seen her around the dumpsters, came to help. Their eyes were filled with admiration and a touch of envy. Kira had spent 2 months living in Sunstone City. Although her life was much better, Kira still often returned to the docks, where she used to live, to visit Mrs. Santos and other children, bringing small gifts and stories of hope. She also continued to visit Arthur's house regularly to see Lily. From day one, Kira noticed the uneasy gaze of Mrs. Davis, Lily's longtime nanny, a middle-aged white woman, with a sharp demeanor and neatly pinned-up hair. She didn't say it directly, but always had disdainful looks and audible sighs whenever Kira walked by. "Be careful with her bare feet," she muttered once, her eyes sweeping over the calluses on Kira's soles, with obvious disgust. Mrs. Davis, a woman who prized order, cleanliness, and social hierarchy above all else, saw Kira as an unwelcome disruption to the meticulously maintained world of the Reed household. Kira felt Mrs. Davis's gaze, and words like needles pricking her heart. Sadness and hurt crept in. Lily would sit next to Kira every morning and watch cartoons. Sometimes the little girl would giggle, sometimes she would lean her head on Kira's shoulder, a trusting gesture that warmed Kira's heart. One afternoon, Lily was drawing with crayons, making colorful but abstract shapes. Kira gently took her hand and guided it to draw a simple flower. Lily looked up at Kira, her eyes widening in understanding. Then she smiled, a genuine radiant smile that melted Kira's heart. It was a small breakthrough, a moment of connection that transcended words. Kira continued to learn quickly, especially in math and reading. Her teacher said she had a gift, a rare spark, and Kira felt a little proud inside. However, Kira's life in the house and at school wasn't always easy. In her new middle school, Kira found herself an outsider. Some students whispered and pointed, calling her the charity case. One day during a math class, the teacher posed a particularly complex word problem that stumped the entire class. Kira, remembering her mother's lessons, quietly raised her hand and solved it with surprising speed and accuracy, explaining her steps clearly. A few classmates who had been sneering at her before, including a girl named Emily, looked at her with newfound respect. From then on, Emily occasionally sought Kira's help with homework, and the whispers lessened. Mrs. Davis also often watched Kira uncomfortably, sometimes deliberately giving her unnecessary chores, or hinting with remarks like, "She probably isn't used to using a knife and fork correctly, is she?" Kira felt that subtle discrimination, but she chose to remain silent and do everything well, hoping her hard work would prove everything. One evening, as Kira was sitting alone in the living room, Arthur sat down next to her. He had noticed Kira's quietness lately. "Kira, how would you feel about staying here for school? We'd like to fund your education permanently. Of course, only if you want to." Kira was speechless, her throat tightened. She nodded. Tears streamed down her face. Amidst these difficulties, a door had opened, a ray of light, a feeling of relief and gratitude washed over her. And just like that, her life turned a new page, cold, crisp, beautiful pages. That night, she wrote in her diary, "Snow feels like the opposite of hunger, and kindness is a path. Even though there are walls, there are also doors." Her English improved rapidly. So did her confidence. She started baking cookies with Arthur, learning to precisely measure ingredients, and her smile grew brighter and brighter. She learned to fold clothes neatly, to organize bookshelves. She even taught Lily how to balance a bucket of water on her head for fun, a game Lily absolutely loved, creating joyful giggles. One day, Kira found Lily quietly trying to arrange her crayons by color, a task that seemed to frustrate her. Kira sat down beside her and gently showed her how to group them, naming each color as they went. Lily watched intently, her brow furrowed in concentration. When they were finished, a look of pure satisfaction spread across Lily's face, and she reached out to squeeze Kira's hand, a silent thank you that spoke volumes. Lily still didn't speak, but she beamed when she was with Kira. They often sat together, Kira reading to Lily, or Lily leaning her head on Kira's shoulder while watching cartoons. They shared a connection that needed no words, an understanding deeper than any language. Kira patiently guided Lily in using therapeutic apps on the iPad, helping her express herself through pictures and symbols. Kira's bond with Lily gradually helped her emerge from her shell. Lily's laughter became more frequent, and her eyes sparkled with an unprecedented vibrancy, a small miracle unfolding every day, making Kira feel incredibly moved and proud. One afternoon, when Arthur was away, Mrs. Davis approached Kira. "I need you to watch Lily all day today," she said, her tone challenging. "Mr. Reed has an important meeting, and I have urgent errands. I expect you to manage without trouble." She seemed to anticipate Kira's failure, a final test. Lily, sensing the tension, started to get agitated. Kira, despite her nervousness, took Lily to the garden. She brought out a small watering can and showed Lily how to water the flowers, making it a game. Lily, usually overwhelmed by new tasks, found a calm focus in the repetitive action, even attempting to mimic Kira's gentle humming. By the end of the day, Lily had not only watered all the plants, but had also organized her favorite toy blocks into neat rows, a new skill she'd learned from Kira. When Arthur returned, he found Lily calmer than usual, sitting quietly with Kira, organizing her blocks. Mrs. Davis watched from a distance, her usual rigid posture softened. She saw Lily reach out and gently pat Kira's arm, a rare spontaneous gesture of affection. Mrs. Davis witnessed the entire interaction, her eyes shifting from surprise to astonishment, and finally to a deep respect. From that moment on, her attitude towards Kira completely changed. One morning, when Kira was slightly ill, Mrs. Davis personally brought her a hot bowl of soup, placing it by the bed and quietly saying, "Get some rest, don't overdo it." It was a rare sign of acceptance and care, a bond that had been forged between them. Her gaze towards Kira had transformed, from suspicion to respect, and perhaps even affection. One evening, when Arthur was away, Miss Davis proactively prepared dinner for Kira and Lily, sat at the table with them, and for the first time, asked Kira about her past life, not with judgmental curiosity, but with genuine empathy. She even shared stories from her own past, creating an unexpected bridge between two generations, making Kira feel a warmth spread through her heart. One chilly Saturday afternoon, Arthur handed Kira a new phone. "Someone wants to talk to you," Kira answered, a deep emotional voice. "Kira, it's Uncle Robert here, your mother's brother." Kira gasped, her heart pounded. She hadn't heard his voice in years. After her mother passed, the family scattered. The raw ache of loss for her scattered family had always lingered. Hearing her uncle's voice was like finding a lost piece of her own identity. "I saw you online," he said, his voice choked. "I cried, I prayed, I thought you were gone forever." Kira burst into tears. Hot tears streamed down her cheeks, releasing years of longing and worry. They talked for over an hour, telling each other about their years apart. Arthur later contacted Uncle Robert, helping him find a stable job and decent housing in Sunstone City. Uncle Robert also began participating in community activities and frequently chatted with Kira by phone. Kira hugged Arthur tightly and nodded. "Let's rebuild my connections," she said, an idea that had just sparked in her mind, but now it had become a concrete plan, a great purpose for her life. At 13, Kira had already spoken at 2 school events, was featured on a major American news channel, and received a letter from the mayor of San Francisco, but she didn't let that make her arrogant. Instead, she spent most evenings reading to Lily, helping her with touchscreen apps on a new iPad, the one Kira had given her for her 8th birthday. One afternoon, Kira was showing Lily pictures of animals on the iPad. Lily pointed to a picture of a bird and made a soft chirping sound, the first intentional sound other than cries or giggles that she had ever made. Kira's eyes welled up with tears of joy, and she hugged Lily tightly. On another day, while watching a nature documentary, Lily, usually quiet, suddenly reached out and traced the outline of a butterfly on the screen, then looked at Kira, a flicker of curiosity in her eyes. Kira took Lily's hand and gently helped her draw a butterfly on a blank page of a notebook, patiently guiding her fingers. Lily giggled, a sound of pure delight, then proudly showed the drawing to Arthur later that evening, a tangible sign of her growing engagement with the world around her, facilitated by Kira. "You helped me talk," Lily typed one day on her speech app. "You are my sister." Kira burst into tears. Those were the most meaningful words she had ever heard, living proof of the change she had brought about. Arthur later said, "Kira, you've done more for my daughter than doctors ever could," but Kira just smiled. "I just gave her what the world forgot to give me: attention, patience, love." By the time Kira was 14, she barely recognized herself. Her skin was healthy, no longer bruised or dry from starvation. Her hair was neatly braided, no longer matted with street dust. She wore a jacket with a gold-embroidered school emblem, not rags picked from trash. Her lunchbox was full of strawberries and small sandwiches, not expired cookies found in a dumpster. But occasionally, she would look in the mirror and whisper to herself, "Don't forget where you came from." She never forgot. Every Sunday, she would send voice recordings to Mrs. Santos telling her about her classes and life in America, about the hardships she had overcome, and the dreams that were growing bigger. She even sent gifts: solar-powered lamps for homes without electricity, school books for children, small radios so people could listen to the news. The woman who had once given her a place to sleep was now honored as Community Mother of the Year in Sunstone City, thanks to Kira's nomination, a story of kindness spreading. Kira wasn't just building a life for herself, she was building a legacy, a wellspring of hope connecting the past and the future. That summer, Project Haven hosted a televised gala at Carnegie Hall, one of the world's most prestigious venues. Kira was asked to be the main speaker. She wore a navy blue gown Arthur had picked, with flats to feel more grounded. Her fingers trembled behind the crimson velvet curtain. Arthur squeezed her shoulder. "Just tell them the truth, Kira, always the truth." The sheer grandeur of Carnegie Hall was a stark contrast to the dumpsters and alleys of her past, yet she carried both worlds within her. As Kira stepped into the spotlight, the room fell silent. Hundreds of eyes turned to her, the most powerful men and women holding their breath, listening. "I come from a place where dreams die, where dumpsters are buffets, where girls disappear silently, left unspoken, unnoticed. But today, I stand here because someone didn't turn their back on me."
Because someone saw a dirty child picking food from a dumpster and saw something else. They saw potential, they saw hope, they saw me. Kira paused, took a deep breath, her voice echoing through the hall. I'm not saying every child out there will find an iPad. I'm not saying every child will find a family like mine. But I am saying that, with a little kindness, a little care, we can make a difference. We can create new paths, brick by brick, from despair to hope, from darkness to light. Open your hearts, listen. Every child has a story, and every story deserves to be told. Every child deserves a chance. Her voice, once silent and unheard, now resonated with power, not from anger, but from a profound understanding of human vulnerability and the boundless potential of compassion. Applause erupted, stronger and louder than anything Kira had ever heard. This time, there weren't just tears of emotion, but faces filled with determination. After her speech, a prominent tech entrepreneur approached her, tears in his eyes. Your story, it's incredibly moving. Project Haven sounds exactly like what our city needs. I'm committing to a 5-year funding plan to expand Project Haven to 3 more major cities across the country, starting next month. Kira nodded, a quiet sense of triumph in her heart. Project Haven had already provided over 500 iPads to underprivileged children in Sunstone City, and one of them, a little girl named Clara, living in the same dock district Kira once called home, had just learned to read her first full sentence using the app Kira recommended. Kira had transformed her own life, and now, she had transformed the lives of other children, lighting a spark of hope from the very place where darkness once prevailed.
Join us to share meaningful stories by hitting the like and subscribe buttons. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell to start your day with profound lessons and heartfelt empathy.